Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Melissa. Working alongside Talissa, David, Angelica, and Nee, we will be presenting on Berry Street as our chosen organisation. On behalf of the group members and myself, we wish to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are recording this presentation. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Berry Street was founded 140 years ago in 1877. Berry Street began by a group of women who saw the social changes and challenges of the new colony of Victoria. The poverty, malnutrition, homelessness, abuse, neglect, high mortality rate, and adverse effects without support drove these women to establish an orphanage in Fitzroy, which was initially called the Victorian Infant Asylum. Throughout the remainder of the 1800s and into the 1900s, the then Victorian Infant Asylum progressed, relocated, and expanded with intent to fit the needs of care for babies and mothers. The name changed multiple times over the years based on the society's attitudes and hopes to describe the service best provided. The 1900s continued to change Berry Street as an organisation throughout expansions, adaptations, and relocations, as it adapted to work towards supporting those in need through the time of the Depression and during times of war. The 2000s at Berry Street marked a time of significant change, growth, and reflection. It is important to acknowledge the history of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children at Berry Street. Berry Street acknowledges that from establishment, the complicit action of removal of children. There is little to no documentation of what had occurred. This is something that social worker C acknowledged. Berry Street offered apologies in 2006 for the contribution and complicit actions during the time of the stolen generation, the forgotten Australians, mothers and families harmed by forced removal and adoption. As time went on, Berry Street made further apologies in 2016 as the history continued to be recognised and reflected as part of the progression and implementation of the Reconciliation Action Plan. The 2000s saw closure and change in location of service while continuing to support communities in need, such as those affected by the 2009 bushfires. In recent years, the establishment of the Berry Street School, Berry Street Education Model, Take Two, will strive to continue to make positive changes and benefit children who experience adversity and disadvantage.
Moving on to the structure of Berry Street as an organisation. The organisational structure of Berry Street can be broken down into 7 main portfolios, each of which are run by a separate executive director, all of whom will be highlighted further on in the presentation when the governance of the organisation is discussed. The 7 portfolios include Services, run by Executive Director Jenny McNaughton, which encompasses the various services offered to clients, which are being run out of the standard Berry Street locations. Statewide Services, which is run by Executive Director Annette Jackson, then encompasses the client services which are not delivered through the standard locations, such as the Berry Street School and other programs, which will be covered in the services segment of this presentation. The next portfolio, Organisational Effectiveness, is run by Executive Director Jane Daniels, which, as implied, focuses on ensuring the effectiveness of the organisation as a whole and relates to quality, knowledge and outcomes, diversity and inclusion, Aboriginal service development, and past client experiences. People and Culture, run by Executive Officer Georgie Dwyer, then focuses on internal organisational quality and knowledge and manages payroll, staff upskilling, workplace safety, and other human resource related tasks. Corporate Services, which is run by Executive Officer Tom Pennicott, is concerned with providing funds and resources for IT, running of programs, and general supports to the rest of the organisation to aid in achieving their wider aims and objectives. Strategic Engagement, run by Executive Director Heidi Reid, then works somewhat in conjunction with the aims of corporate services, however, relates more to the needs of the service users through identifying areas and programs which need more attention or funding and fighting for additional resources and funding. Finally, the last portfolio is the Office of the CEO, which is run by Michael Caruso, the current Chief Executive Officer of Berry Street. He serves as the figurehead of the organisation regarding values and advocating for relevant issues regarding the services provided by Berry Street. Each of these executive directors who run these portfolios then have a dedicated team of staff working below them within their respective portfolio to ensure the effective delivery of each of them. Regarding the structure of Berry Street and its client-based service delivery, Berry Street will mostly structure its services based on location. Berry Street has a large number of northern offices across Melbourne, which are based in more metropolitan areas and suburbs, as well as some southeastern offices and 4 regional offices. There are many services they offer across the fields of mental health and well-being, support and care, education, advocacy, and connection to external support and programs. They attempt to offer these across all offices. However, due to client demand and availability of resources, while their northern offices offer all programs and supports, the additional other offices only offer the key programs. The details of these programs and services will also be further discussed in the next segment of this presentation.
Berry Street is an organization that provides numerous services to the community, from case management, trauma counseling, family and parenting service, family violence service, out-of-home care, as well as providing education to children, introducing pathway, and provide support to post-care. Berry Street Family Violence Services, including case management, which focus on supporting young people by building connection, advocating, and providing them the most suitable service. Beside that, Berry Street also provides therapeutic services, which work alongside caregivers and family that help recover children from the trauma experience. This helps the children to make real changes through relationships, and this well-known service is called Take Two. Berry Street also provides court supports, risk assessments, and connecting people with other services such as legal services and community health centers. Berry Street is one of Victoria's biggest out-of-home care providers. The organization provides foster, kinship, and residential care to make sure that young children who have experienced traumas are able to live in safe and secure places. The organization also believes that it is fundamental for Aboriginal and Torres Islander young children who are in care to stay engaged and connected to their culture and communities. Berry Street Out-of-Home Care work based on a system called Teaching Family Models, which is very well known for being effective in helping young children learn how to form healthy family relationships, improve social skill, identify main stress triggers, and learn how to control their emotions. Berry Street also provides post-care services to help the young children to reconnect with the community and identity opportunities to set goals for the future. With different programs such as Goals and Better Futures, Berry Street support young children across all areas, from accommodations, independent living skills, education and employment, health and well-being, as well as connecting with the communities. Berry Street also provides mentoring to create a supportive environment, as well as setting positive role models. Not only providing education to the youth, Berry Street also support the parents and family. Berry Street School is a specialist independent school which provide education to children from year 7 to 12. The school provides specialized individual education support to children who are in out-of-home care or experiencing bullying in mainstream schools. In order to create a safe study space, Berry Street also provides services that help children around the age of 12 to 18 to re-engage with educations. On the other hand, Berry Street provides education and information on parenting through family services such as family therapies, programs that develop parenting skills, financial literacy program, and support for separate families. By doing so, Berry Street help prepare parents for building positive interaction with their children, keeping their home safe, prevent violence and family breakdowns.
The mission, vision, and objectives of Berry Street. Berry Street exists in order to assist and care for children, young people, and families experiencing poverty, violence, and abuse. The organisation helps families who are most vulnerable. Berry Street does this by helping families stay together in safe and healthy homes in order to assist families create the future they have always wanted and imagined. The values. The staff of Berry Street are guided by 5 directed values. These values include courage, integrity, respect, accountability, and working together as one team. The vision of Berry Street is to, as a team, work together in order to change the lives of service users, to reimagine service systems, and to help children, young people, and families succeed in life. Berry Street's mission is to ensure both children, young people, and families are safe, that they thrive and are hopeful towards their future. Making an impact is also one of Berry Street's missions. Through this, Berry Street aims to include lived experience into their service and delivery. Lastly, growth and sustainability is where Berry Street strives to grow sustainably and to expand their services to meet the needs of the community. The objectives of Berry Street. Berry Street aspires to see their purpose come to life. Berry Street works alongside service users in order to develop and deliver the best possible outcome. The approach Berry Street uses that surrounds all that they do includes relating, innovating, and advocating. By relating, Berry Street listens, forges strategic partnerships, and collaborates in order to make an impact on individuals and families. This is the way Berry Street respects, supports, and builds relationships with their staff, service users, government sponsors, partners, and donors. Berry Street innovates, and by doing so, they combine evidence with practical experience and build on new ideas and solutions, and unite to create a better experience for service users. Lastly, Berry Street advocates. This is the way they seek to inspire and challenge social injustice and inequality among society. How Berry Street keeps their mission, vision, and objectives active throughout the organisation. Berry Street does this through the use of their strategic plan, surveys, check-ins, and feedback. The strategic plan, created by Berry Street, is a plan that outlines how they will change lives and reimagine service systems as a whole. The main goals of this plan is to reimagine the future, make an impact, support those in the organisation, and growth and sustainability. Every employee in the organisation has access to this strategic plan. There is transparency, meaning those within the organisation, including especially staff, are able to express how they feel about the plan and whether it is effective or not, whether changes need to be made to it, and what changes exactly. Berry Street has continued to achieve their strategic goals whilst also making an impact on the lives of children, young people, and families. Surveys are another way the organisation ensures that their employees are aware of the mission, vision, and objectives, and that they stay alive within the organisation. This creates space for the employees of Berry Street to have their say and making sure the employees feel valued. By letting staff have their say, this will result in happy staff who are dedicated to building greater connections with the individuals and families they work with, and in turn, also keeping the retention of staff. Berry Street also provide regular check-ins with their staff to ensure that they are getting the support needed, or if any changes need to be made in order to do so. Any person may provide feedback or a complaint regarding any of the services Berry Street provides. The feedback and complaints given to Berry Street are important to the organisation as it helps them provide appropriate support while also helping them to improve their service delivery and giving the organisation a representation on whether they are meeting their vision, mission, and objectives.
Berry Street is operated using 3 charters. These are their Family Service Charter, their Youth Service Charter, and their Client Service Charter. As Melissa and Talissa previously mentioned, Berry Street offers children, young people, and families services that are aimed towards early intervention and prevention. Founded in 1877, Berry Street built their organisation on the principle of caring for mothers and babies that had been abandoned, an action that defied social norms of the time. Berry Street is partially governed by 2 key policies. These are their terms and conditions, a legal agreement between Berry Street and their users, and their privacy policy, a legally binding condition from the government that the organisation must obey what is outlined by legislation. A fundamental aspect of Berry Street is that it is a public, not-for-profit organisation that, in 2021-2022 financial year, received 70% of its funding through state government grants. They further received 17% through federal sources of income and 13% through independent sources of funding. Berry Street is a registered charity with the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, ACNC, and as such must abide by relevant legislation and acts of Parliament in their field. Legislation such as the Privacy Act 1988 Commonwealth, Privacy and Data Act Protection Act 2014 Victoria, Health Records Act 2001 Victoria, Family Violence Protection Act 2008 Victoria, Child Wellbeing and Safety Act 2005 Victoria. The last 2 forms of legislation are certainly important due to the nature of the services they provide, these services being family violence care and foster care for children, 2 cornerstone services. Berry Street has been providing services to children, young people and families for over 140 years. Berry Street offers 10 separate branches of programs and services. These programs and services all strive to fulfill the Berry Street auspice. That is, families stay together in safe and healthy homes so they can create the future they imagine for themselves. These 10 programs and services are out-of-home care, post-care support, trauma services, family violence support services, education services, young people, community programs, supporting past These services and programs are then organised into teams, each team having a team manager and then the team manager reporting to their director, who is based on region. These regions are South East Victoria, Western Victoria, Hume, and Northern Victoria. Depending on what department an individual works for, their superiors then report to the Executive Director of Services. To paint an example, we should use me. I work for Berry Street in their Take 2 service, a service under the umbrella program of Trauma Service. I'm a team member and report my work to my manager, who reports it to the Regional Director, who in this case is the Director of Take 2 specifically. Berry Street, to replace the role of Regional Manager, have appointed a Director of Take 2. That information is then relayed onto the Executive Director of Services. The difference on which director is involved is essentially based on location and the type of service department the individual is employed in. I gather from the Berry Street website their directors consist of 9 members who are in control of their own regions and programs. These are Tom Bowerman, Director of Innovation, Dr. Tom Brunzell, Director of Education, Dr. Alison Cox, Director of Take 2, who I mentioned earlier, Kate Percy, Director of Knowledge and Outcomes, Patrice Jackson, one of 4 Regional Directors, Andrew Loth, Principal Practitioner, James Stubbs, Regional Director of Northern, Tim Pedlow, Regional Director of South East, Warwick Remilton, Regional Director of Western. These 9 directors are then governed by an executive leadership team, which includes a CEO, a CFO, etc. Michael Perisco is the Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Jane Daniels is the Executive Director of Organisational Effectiveness. Georgie Dwyer, Executive Director, People and Culture. Annette Jackson, Executive Director of Statewide Services. Jenny McNaughton, Deputy CEO and Executive Director, Services. Tom Pennicott, Executive Director, Corporate Services. Heidi Reid, Executive Director, Strategic Engagement. What separates Berry Street's board from what other organisations contain is that their board is voluntary. Their board members consist of Dr. Joe Flynn, AM, President, Tim Cartwright, Vice President, Paul Mann, Vice President, Joshua Grace Warrior, Board Member, Karen McLean, Board Member, Susie Quirk, Board Member, Lynn Glover, Board Member,